Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City Council on this Monday, July the 6th, 2020, at approximately 7:04 p.m. Ms. Derry, would you call the roll, please?
Weston.
Here.
Rod Powell.
Here.
AC Brown.
Here.
Daniel Daniels absent. Ralph Pinter.
Here.
Tim Terry.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Thank you. If you would please rise, we will begin our meeting tonight with a prayer from Greenwood Methodist Church, Lynn Hoffman, followed by our pledge of allegiance from Chief Stuart Bryan.
Let us pray. Dear wise and loving Father, thank you on behalf of all who have gathered here today. Thank you for our many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself. Thank you for our health, our ability to be involved in useful work, and for the honor of bearing these appropriate responsibilities. Thank you as well for the freedom to embrace you and our freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for your generosity. In the scriptures you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace, order, and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular this assembled council tonight. I am asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and righteousness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement. I pray for the agenda set before them tonight. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Greenwood. I pray this in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
If you would, please repeat with me the pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would ask the council to consider approval of the minutes for the June 1st council meeting and also the June 18th special call council meeting.
I make that motion.
Second. Have a motion and a second.
Weston.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Tim Terry.
Yes.
Daniels.
Thank you. I would also like to thank you for your consideration tonight. As you can see, obviously, our attempt at social distancing. If anybody has to leave the room before we get started, I would prefer that be Jim Reynolds. Sorry, I had to pick on somebody. But thank you for coming. And if we do have other guests, Chief, if you would kind of watch for that and it happens, we've got extra chairs back there that we can kind of fill the hallway in, I guess. But anyway, thank you. At this time in your agenda, we have recognitions and acknowledgements. This one's a little different this evening. And I appreciate the prayer. Where did he go? Well, he's a true Methodist. He just prayed and left.
Amen.
This one may be a little difficult to get through, I guess, maybe, or it's a little different. But we want to celebrate a life in the sense, it was a very short life, and we want to celebrate it nevertheless. So if the parents of William Kidd Holtz would step forward. I know they came to you last month at a council meeting. We talked about Sun Association. It's a foundation, thank you, on behalf of William Kidd Holtz. And it's basically CNW. Remind me again and tell us what that is.
Chelsea and William Headstone Foundation.
Okay, so the foundation was founded to raise money, take donations, and to raise money for those that are unfortunate enough to have a lost one that cannot afford a headstone. So these parents, this young man stepped up to the plate and have taken that on. So bear with me, please. Sorry. This is a proclamation on behalf of the people of Greenwood, the city of Greenwood, by Mayor Doug Kinslow to publicly recognize William Kidd Holtz. Whereas William Kidd Holtz was born July the 25th, 2017 to Roy and Brooklyn Holtz of Greenwood, and whereas William was born with a birth defect which sadly caused him to pass away on February the 21st, 2018. And whereas parents Roy and Brooklyn Holtz soon were faced with the financial hardship with having to bury their son, but with the generous donations from family, friends, and the Greenwood community, were able to purchase a headstone and provide a proper burial. And whereas Roy and Brooklyn Holtz began the CNW Headstone Foundation in September of 2018, a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to assisting families with the burden of purchasing headstones for their loved ones. And whereas the memory of William Kidd Holtz lives on today through the great works done by the CNW Headstone Foundation. And therefore I, Doug Kinslow, Mayor of Greenwood, Arkansas, do hereby deem it an honor and to proclaim July the 25th, 2020 as William Kidd Holtz Day. This will be William's birthday. Given under my hand, affixed with the seal of the great city of Greenwood, my signature, and our city clerk treasurer, Charlotte Derry. So we want to give that to you. And I just thought today, I just getting that. Okay, God bless you.
She didn't know this. Me and Doug put this together, so this is 100% a surprise to her.
So, you all know, you live here, what kind of family Greenwood is. And this is what we're made of, so thank you. Okay, moving on our agenda, our agenda is committee reports. Southwest County Board of School, Kenny's here, would you like to?
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Absolutely.
Just a few things.
We moved our podium over here, Kenny, it's kind of out of the way, but,
I
sorry.
want to get by Travis.
Travis, get out there.
I was out for about 3 months after surgery, and I apologize, y'all, I'm going to get the reports and everything. I just got back early last month, so I'll make sure that y'all get all that. We started baseball and softball season about 3 weeks ago. We're going straight by the guidelines from the health department, checking the temperatures of all the coaches and everything. The people parents are ecstatic. I've probably been, Doug appreciate this. I've been thanked more this year for having ball season than I have the 16 years prior combined. So they're really happy about that. So we're only playing on like 4 or 5 fields, but we're still doing that. We're supposed to, our biggest fundraiser every year is our state tournament. That has kind of went bye-bye. I think we're going to have 10 teams this weekend in baseball in 2 age groups, and they're all local. So most people are staying home in Northwest Arkansas and Conway, so they won't be coming here. They're going to have their own little 3-team state tournament. So like in the 10 single A, there will literally be 10 single A state champions this year. So we're doing all that. We are, we've had some people that's helped us out a little bit, and we're going to have our gym where it will be safe for after school. We're going to divide some rooms. We're putting up some windows, so we will be ready to take the kids after school. And if they alternate days, whatever, it's all up in the air, we'll be ready to help the kids that the parents have to go to work. So, but I just want to come and personally thank y'all, because without the city, I know I say this all the time, but these times right now, oh, we appreciate y'all even more and more, because it's been rough. So we thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Kenny, I've got just a question, I guess. Did you have to go through the governor's office to get your guidelines of how you're going to handle after-school program? Or
We actually dealt straight with the health department.
Okay.
We submitted a plan, we gave them a diagram of our fields,
Okay.
and like in the fourplex, there's never been a game where people have to be, we only use 2 fields at one time.
Okay.
So everything is spread out, and they've loosened that. It's weird, it seems every time they come out and say there's a higher number, they loosen it up even more. So, you know, we're still going by the capacity that they gave us at the beginning.
I know that may be a question, I think, and Daniel's not here, but I think we got a couple of calls, as you know, they call here sometimes, so just so we can tell them what you.
Right, yeah, we're going
Okay.
straight by them, and USSSA, the association, the state director, he's always in contact with the attorney general and the health department. in Baton.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. SRCA, I don't see Lisa, but I think, I failed to look, is there a written, no?
She's a good one. It's on there.
She did, okay, so you have that, okay. Well, I will say on her behalf that the building has been leaking, as it always does, over there some, and I've had a contractor go over there and repair it. There's nothing major at all. In fact, the last time he went, he didn't even charge me because that building, as you know, has some issues, and where the vault used to be, that's concrete, and it runs and hits that and then runs somewhere else. So they have a hard time tracking down the leaks, but as far as I know, everything's in good shape now. She hadn't mentioned anything lately. Parks Commission, I don't see Mr. Goldstein anywhere, so we'll move on.
They do have a report.
They do, there's a written report, okay. Water Wastewater Commission, Mr. Bailey is not here. I think you do have that too, right? Citizen Forum, I did not. Thank you, Ms. Tammy. Check and see if anybody signed
Oh,
up.
yeah, there is one.
Is there, okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you. Ms. Joanne, it's your time. If you would come to the microphone, state your name and address, and we allot 5 minutes.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
I talk about like you do. A lot. My name is Joanna Brandt. I reside at 301 West Denver Street, Vernon Louis Stewart's old house, which I purchased 2.5 years ago. And I also have a business, Rags and Roses, at 100 North Main Street, which after running it for a year under the name of the Peculiar Flea from 2018 to 2019, I purchased the business and changed the name. I have been extremely grateful to Greenwood for being so supportive and welcoming of our business. So a little overview, basically what I do is I rent booth space. It's kind of like a flea market with a little bit of an upgrade. We've got just a little bit of everything from boutique items to antiques and so forth. I have over 50 vendors. And we've had a really great first year. Would never have expected that during that first year I would have had to have closed my doors for 6 weeks due to COVID. But this town really came together for us and did online shopping and kept us afloat during that time. What I'm asking the city to do is to consider a parking lot in the grass area that is next to House of Holland, which is the building that I share with them. I know that there's been some talk of parking lot. I've talked to Doug before. I've talked to anybody that will stand still long enough to listen about it. And I don't think I have to spend much time going over all of the ways in which it would benefit the community, because we know it would. Once we can get back to having events at the square again, just having some extra parking would be extremely helpful. I know I am, and I know House of Holland. And then with this renovation going on at the square and not knowing what kind of businesses are going to come in there, we need more parking. I've got 3 spaces in front of my store and 3 spaces across the street, and I think there's 4 along the side of the building. I've lost count of how many times someone has come in and said, oh yeah, I drove by the other day, but there was nowhere to park, so I just left. And what if they don't come back? In order for us to be successful, we need places for our customers to park. One of the good things that COVID did do for us was because so many people were home and on their phones, our online presence really grew. So I'm now having people from Alma come to the store. I'm having people from Van Buren come to the store. I had a gentleman drive all the way from Fayetteville to buy something that I had posted online. These people need, we want to be successful. I know that store has had lots of different people in it, but I don't intend to go anywhere. There's not going to be a turnover really soon. There is no plan B. I'm the only parent to 2 kids, and this is how I take care of them, and I don't plan on going anywhere. So if the city could help us out with some parking, not only for us, but for our customers. We also have a lot of older clientele, walkers, wheelchairs, and it would be so nice for them to be able to be already at sidewalk level and not have to navigate the curb. And I'll wait another time to bring up the sidewalk on the side of the building. That's a bit of a safety hazard. But it would just be I think it'd be really nice for the community, it'd be nice for our customers, and selfishly, it'd be really nice for me. So, thank you for your consideration.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. And Ms. Brand's right, we've talked a few times about it, and I've mentioned it to Dennis, maybe just a little bit in passing, Dennis being the street director, about the possibility of looking at that as parking. Obviously, the city owns both those lots, as you're aware of, so I think it's a good idea. Yes, ma'am.
Now, real quick, Lewis Harris that owns the building,
Yes.
I've spoken to him multiple times about it, and he said he owns about the first 6 feet into that grass. I think it's kind of an odd shape that he owns. And he says he's absolutely on board for whatever needs to be done on his end to get that parking, because he knows how much that would benefit.
So if I'm understanding you, he'll pay for the first 6 feet of the.
Well, I'll see what I can do. I'll talk to him about it.
I know Lewis, and that's not like it.
Probably not, but you never know.
I'm just kidding. But the other issue I had is that this would actually benefit Mr. Reynolds. I hate to keep picking on you, but your business is across the street. It's very much needed in the area for sure. And you and I talked to, and I think Dennis maybe at one time, when you pull out next to your building, or between your building and yes, Evan Rao, Dr. Rao, it's very dangerous. I mean, it's almost like we need to lose a spot there, but that's one of the 4 that you have.
Right.
So we'll be looking at that. Yes, sir.
If I may, we had talked about this one other time about maybe a road, not a road, but a entrance and an exit coming in and out of there.
Yep.
And I know Susie Butler was on board on the other side of that, on the back of those buildings as well, of having an access through there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've talked to Susie several times. The city actually owns right behind your building, and then Susie owns the footprint of what used to be City Hall there. So I cannot imagine her having an issue of us coming through. Well, we wouldn't have to necessarily even get on her property, but yeah, I think that's real workable, and we need to get together on it.
And
I'm looking
I
at
think
Dennis as
the
a,
chief will also, there's been a lot of near misses, even with cop cars at that intersection.
yeah,
And one day I was in my office there, and I heard this terrible skidding and banging, and I looked outside, and a car had been sideswiped from somebody coming out of there, and that very easily could have ended somebody's business, because the car almost ended up in business. So
that's a dangerous spot. I appreciate you coming, because that helps me get it to these gentlemen, council. We talked about it a little bit, but thank you for coming. We'll be looking into that.
Okay, thank you.
I promise you.
Mayor, you
Yes,
say
sir.
you're gonna have Dennis look at it, are you gonna get a price on it?
Yeah, absolutely. We need, and we haven't talked in depth at all. I hate to say the word because it costs money every time you say Michael or John, but in a good way. We respect Michael and he does a good job, but maybe having him or somebody look at it to draw it out for us to make sure we get the best usage of it. I personally would like to see a little bit of park atmosphere next to the building, left green space, whatever that is, small, medium, whatever, and then road access and then parking as much as we can get. So I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, we're gonna be looking at it and seeing the
I
cost.
guess I'm always interested in doing something right.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm envisioning decorative lighting.
I'm envisioning
Like
a
it-
pocket park
like it's-
with
like it ought to
a
be,
little
yeah.
scalloped edge with maybe a couple of tables
I was just feeling y'all out to make sure it wasn't, you weren't gonna dump a load of gravel over it and call it good.
No, are you kidding?
I live
Well, but here's one reason why I'm not definitely, and Ms. Brandt's one of them, and the other reason is Parks Director lives across the street.
Right.
So I don't think that would work out too well.
I'm still stuck on 8 years I lived with Don Keys.
Gotcha, I understand.
But if, you know, again, if we're gonna take the time to, do it right and stuff, that's gonna take time. I said, is there any way that we could just still allow parking just on the grass?
We've actually, I've given approval anytime they have a special event or anything, Mr. Grant knows that, they're able to park. I mean, we're not keeping them from it, we don't advertise it, but certainly, it's just a grass, there's nothing there to, I think we've even renewed water meters and, it's probably soft right
Pretty
now.
soft. And that existing little driveway,
Yeah,
I bottom out, because I will park there sometimes, but I bottom out almost every time I
Well-
go out of there.
well,
it's sort of-
so that being said, maybe, and I'll get with Dennis and we'll talk about it, and maybe the first thing to do is to get some material in there to make it usable, but don't think that's all we're doing. So, I mean, I don't know if that's correct procedure to follow, but something, we'll look at it and see.
But I mean, yeah, if it could, I mean, like, I'm sure the store owners will let people know that, hey, you can park there, but
Yeah.
just have a, you know, some type of sign that says, yeah, parking is permitted.
Well, we just make sure not, so we don't get anybody in there stuck. Walt, you mentioned, the owner, I'm sorry, I do, Lewis Harris, and when he starts bragging about owning that, tell him I own 1.5 feet to the back of the building
I
too,
will
so.
make sure that, I'll make sure.
When I say we, the city, that whole plat, that's all odd shaped down through their building.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sorry, very last thing, if the council has not been there before, I would love to invite everybody to come see. I'm doing a facelift, I got new awnings, I got new lighting through the Swept Coast Small Business Energy Efficiency Program, LEDs all throughout the store. So come by if you haven't been there before.
Thank you.
When you're talking about access, I guess there is it's alley.
Kind of an alley.
There's a, you know.
I forget the distance, but if you go over there and look from the corner of the building, her building, to a pole, and I don't know if it's a light pole or if it's just a utility, a pole with a line on it, that is ours. And it used to be, what I remember, was the fire station garage sit there, and then there was a space in the city hall, so.
At one time, Brixie had some marks there. I don't
Okay.
know if they're still there or not.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And that's when I found out, I realized that it looked like we had about 1.5 feet into the building, but, yeah, there's actually plenty of room. I say plenty, there's enough, ample room to come out of that, what could be a parking lot, turn and go behind her building and never even get on Miss Butler. But she, I think would benefit, obviously, if we all got together and did something with that whole thing. I mean, she's got a nice sized parking lot there too, so. It's the beginning of something good, I think. Thank you. That's all we have signed up on the sheet tonight. Next is the financial report. I keep looking over here.
Lance, you get it.
Lance, you want to give the report this evening?
Ms. Brandt and I did not discuss the financial impact projections, but her lead-in was beautiful to what you're going to be seeing and what I've been telling you about the online presence of the city of Greenwood. You guys in the city of Greenwood have stepped up big time and you have been purchasing online, and all of that, as far as the sales tax returns, come back to the city. So I'm going to be showing you exactly what that impact is so that we can have some idea as to where we're treading or trending right now for the year. Our budget, as we show every month, is this blue line going across here. That's the flat budget based on the revenues that we received from the previous 2019. What you see in the green line here is the actual collections that we have been receiving this year. And the reason it is so much higher is that the reflection is now in there of the online sales. And you are seeing it sort of went up about 7% we had initially, and it dropped a little bit here when the COVID started. And then the online sales just picked up. Now it is trending in the exact same pattern as our spending did in 2019, just at a much higher rate. And so we do know that there is a couple of anomaly periods, one of them being April, which is the February purchase, because we're tracking about 2 months behind in our collections or our receipts. So when we receive June's payments, we're receiving June's payments, which reflects most of, almost all of the collections in the month of April, which is the first full month of the COVID impact. And you will see that this was more of a flat spend in 2019, and we actually jettisoned upward. So a lot more people are really enjoying the online purchasing. Those businesses that stepped up to the plate and started to make corrections in their business model and changed their mode operandi actually helped. They put their merchandise online. People are seeing it now, and they're actually liking the postman getting their fitness steps coming to your door every day, as my wife does. One of the things that you will notice is that the difference between our actual trend line right now and where we are is incredibly high. As a matter of fact, for the month of June of 2020 to the month of June of 2019, the city has had an increase of 22% in our city sales and use tax. We normally average about 3% for the year. So when you look at the cumulative impact, the cumulative of 2020, which is the first 6 months of collections compared to the first 6 months of last year, we're up 13.1%, which is almost 10% greater than we would normally have for an entire year. Last year, 2019, for 6 months, we were at 1.7% increase. And that's almost attributed to solely the online sales, so keep it up, buy local. The other thing I want to point out is that we did projections in the past of, we anticipated about a 6% reduction when we started hearing all about what was happening with COVID. The 6% reduction that I showed for the last 2 months to the council was predicting that we would be flat. We could absorb a 6% reduction every month for the rest of the year and still end up at budget, which is a flat budget. I have changed that projection now. With our current standing cumulative for the first 6 months, we could stand a 6.5% reduction in our city sales and use tax, and I'm not wishing or predicting that. But if we did have a 6% by month reduction for the rest of the year, we still would equal our 3% average growth for the last 5 years. So a 6% reduction, please don't stop purchasing online or local. But if it did, we would still end up with a surplus of about a 6% gain in our city sales and use tax. That is a great position to be in, and it's a tribute to how the people and the citizens of Greenwood reacted. Must have been that big sign we had out by City Hall that says shop local. So kudos to the citizens. That would still, at 3%, give us a $71,000 increase in our actual budget revenues for city sales and use tax, which goes to critical infrastructure and capital improvements for the city in 4 major areas. Well, 3 major areas in police bond. The county sales tax is a little different story. County sales tax, the blue line is where we budgeted. The purple line that you see right there is where we're actually trending. Now, county sales tax, we don't actually have as much of an increase per year. As a matter of fact, just to show you where we're trending month over month, June over last year, June, we decreased 1.7%. And we do have peaks and valleys all throughout the year. Last year at this time, 2019, our cumulative was 2% growth. This year we're at 2.8%, even with the last 2 months, which includes March and April's collections of COVID monies. And you got to remember, our county sales tax is a pooled amount that's pooled from all the other cities within Sebastian County. So if we're sharing their woes right now, that's not reflecting that the city of Greenwood's probably bolstering that a little bit than what it could have been. A lot of other cities are experiencing a lot greater decrease than we are, and we're propping other cities up as far as our sales is concerned. Before, I used to predict a 10% reduction because we were told, based on the economists, that we would be looking more like a 13 to 15% reduction in county sales tax. That has not materialized, and I have shifted the projection now to say, what would it take for us to end flat for the year for county sales tax with virtually no growth, which is this number right here. We could absorb a 2% reduction each month for the remainder of the year and still be flat on our budget or meet our budget expectation. So it would have to start decreasing a lot more. Now, as businesses are starting to open up in the cities, they're not shut down, especially the specialty shops in Fort Smith and Arlington now, they're starting to open their stores. As there is a little bit of recovery, I don't see us actually dropping to the expectation of the economists. So that's where we are in county. You've got to remember, county does impact all the departments of the general fund, parks, police, fire, and critical support services and infrastructure work for planning department as well, animal control. They're all funded by that county sales tax, as well as the contribution that we're making under contract to the senior center and the lofty retirement program. All comes out of that money. So we do watch that's operational money and not critical infrastructure money. As a result of that, in your financials, which you don't have a paper copy, but they are on your tablets, we actually only increased our capital expenditures by 0.5% from last month to this month. So that's, again, we're still holding back on certain non-critical capital spend. One of the things, though, I do want to point out, if you look at the cash flow statement in there, you don't have to do it now, but I will tell you, over the last 3 months, we've added $500,000 of increase to our cash. That's primarily because the amount of money that we budgeted for capital spend at this point has not happened. We were waiting to see what was going to happen as far as our city sales and use tax was concerned. As a result of the numbers I showed you previously, we are actually having some of our departments now start implementing spend on non-critical but necessary projects and things that are needing to be done this year rather than pushing them off to another budget year. So there's a little bit of a cautious go forward now with the monies that we're collecting for the year. If we start seeing a major change in both either this or the city sales and use tax, you'll be hearing a different tune from me, and we'll start pulling the brakes on some of our projects. One of the other things, well, that's how it affects the county sales tax, affects planning, admin of justice, police, animal control, parks, and fire. And if we ended up the year flat or right at 2% reduction for the rest of the year, we're going to be at about a $514 increase. So it'll just be a flat budget. And that's basically what we're looking at. And there is the percentages that we allocate or that the council has allowed and approved the allocation of the county sales tax to each of those departments under general. You have to remember, though, that even though we give it to those departments for their budget, it's still general fund. It's for the operations. This is our A&P, and I will tell you that A&P is more of a current reflection of what's happening during the COVID period. It's our 1% prepared food tax on our local food eateries. What you see here is a representative sample, not every one of our A&P vendors, but it's a representative sample of all the different types that we have, from large to small to in-dining, non-in-dining, to people that have modified or adapted their business plan. You can see in the red here all the March numbers that have went negative as a result of closing their doors, and then they had to adapt and modify their business. And you will see that several of them went out of the red and started a different model. They started, people started eating local as far as our fast food was concerned. You will see in the month of May that only 2 are negative, although the one that's negative, this is May over April's number at a 14% decrease. You're going to see that for the year, they're still up 18%. And you will see that in the 3 months that COVID had impact to them versus the 2 months that it didn't, I'm comparing the COVID period average to the non-COVID period average. Each of the businesses that we have in our representative sample went up $218,000, so a $250,000 increase in the 3 months for that sample. If you compare it to the total, and some of the businesses are still closed, That sample is showing an increase of just under 1% increase, even though COVID impacted them greatly in the month of March. So that's kind of where I'm seeing the barometer of the people of Greenwood and where their spend is and how much they're spending. As you know, as restaurants open in Fort Smith, a lot of people will start going to those restaurants if they want a sit-down meal. I do see those numbers backing off. I don't see them being as robust as they are there, but I don't see them falling way below what our budget expectation is for our A&P. That is greatly impacting parks, because parks gets 45% off the top of the A&P for parks-related projects. So, the only other thing I want to show you is our water and sewer department numbers, because I showed you this before. They live and die by the sale of water, and you will see in the month of June, the water the total decline for the last 2-year period in sale of water is 4.5%, but they had only a 0.66% this year compared to previous years. Their water sales in the month of June went up dramatically. You can see that in that graph. And the only other two I wanted to show you was the accounts receivable trend. This is the actual past due accounts receivable, and the dollar amount has dropped in the month of June, so that's a favorable number for them. And you're also seeing the number of accounts that were delinquent also dropped in the month of June, so it's all heading in the right direction. So all the financial fiscal indicators are positive at this point, which I'm hoping I'd be able to say that for the next 6 months, to have a good year. But it is a good trend right now.
John, just talk about some projects we're going to move forward with. I don't know what they are there projects that we can start and finish? I mean, as far as, you know what I'm saying, it's so big that if the numbers did change, that we have to stop so we don't have unfinished projects, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Some are projects that need to start now because they are going to be a lengthy project, and the more we put it off, the longer it's going to take at the back end. But I let the departments dictate that. They come to me and say, can we start, what do you think about starting this project? And I hit them with some of the critical nature of the need, how soon before, is this something we can put off or not? I let them pretty much dictate what projects they want to start implementing, and then build a good rationale for why.
I just said, we'll start something that then we get about halfway through it and we can't finish it. Because then it ends up costing us more, I think, down the road, so just curious.
Anything else?
Any further questions for Tom? Thank you, sir. As always, good, in-depth, detail. Appreciate you. We are at the agenda addition part of the agenda, and I do have one to add. I need to make it number 6, and I'm not sure how you listed it, but
Ordinance regarding use of masks during the pandemic.
thank you. That'll be number 6 on your agenda. So we'll move on to old business, planning department, Mr. Bell. Ordinance annexing rural property at North Olmer and Alex Street, third reading.
Mayor, council, Mr. Terry, like the mayor says, the first item is the ordinance, third reading for annexing the property located at Alex and North Olmer. This is owned by Mr. Travis Hawkins. He's here tonight. The lot is such a size that he plans on building 2 homes on the remainder of the lot. And with the council's permission, we'd like to go forward with the annexation of this and get this island closed off and into the city. Again, we've got several of these around town, and this is one that the state and the GIS says that we need to close off.
So,
Yes.
one thing, Travis knows, but on the frontage on Olmer Street, what's the width of those 2 properties there?
The width?
Yeah.
you've got a 7.5 foot setback on the side yard. And then there was a variance on the side to the, on the Alex Street because of the way the property line is set. You had actually more property to the street line than what it, the property line was, and so that's the reason why the variance was given.
Oh, but it looks like each one of them are gonna have a total width of the lots over 75 feet?
Yes.
Okay, so they're gonna be, bigger, not so there.
The one in the rear is gonna be a much bigger lot.
Yeah, it does have a number there for that one, it's
Yeah.
95. The other thing I was just kind of noticing was on between lot 2 and lot 3, it looks like it shows a 10-foot easement between the two.
The right,
Is the right of way easement there?
yeah, just to get to the house that's existing.
The existing house for water and sewer.
Okay. I didn't know if any way that we could, get an easement on up, well, I guess just an infinite easement all the way up, because you don't know exactly how it's going to develop going, north of there and stuff like that.
Well, it's already developed.
Well, I know it's already developed in some ways, but I think there's on the other side of the house that got all the pine trees, whatever, there's a empty lot there, that they're looking at, they're bringing in field dirt and stuff like that, but I just thought there would be a possibility of just having it.
Well, water and sewer is available on further down Homer Street. It's just this lot here never was connected. Because, the sewer line goes across behind the duplexes, which goes right down the side of that lot that you're talking about from east to west. And then it crosses Homer Street behind the duplexes and goes on around to 10 Spur.
And so, so you're saying all we need is just that easement right there?
Yes, that's just to get the easement to the existing house that's there already, because it's on septic tank now, and they would like to hook that up to our sewer system.
And then, what is the proposal there for lot 2, or because I noticed that right there, it does kind of dip there.
That's been filled.
And, so lot 2 is going to be, has already been filled, or?
Right here's been filled. Yes, this lot was very low right here, we filled it.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Any other questions from Mr. Bell or Travis?
I make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Put it on third reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Ms. Terry? Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
No.
Passes by majority. An ordinance annexing certain lands that are completely surrounded by the incorporated limits of the city of Greenwood, Arkansas, and other purposes.
Thank you. Before we move to the next item, Sonny, if you don't mind, we'll recognize we have 2 members of the press here tonight, and I can't remember my name half the time. From Resident Press, yes?
Lindsay LaChapelle.
Lindsay, and from Times Record,
Drew Smith.
Drew Smith. And so thank you ladies for being here tonight. I'm sorry I meant to do that earlier. Oh, next item, sorry, planning.
The next item is the third reading of the ordinance amending the zoning ordinance 1809, addressing the public hearing notification requirements. This is the changes that the Municipal League and the City of Fort Smith has made changes to, and this brings us into line with the other zoning requirements around us. Basically says that when you have a zoning change that you notify by mail any property that is touching the property that is in question, and then you would still publish and post the information like we're doing now. Gets away from the 300-foot radius that creates problems when you have large parcels that are larger than 300-foot radius.
This is the one we added or changed the cost last month, correct?
Yeah.
100 to 200, I think, for the posting. Any questions or comments regarding this ordinance?
I make a motion we put this ordinance on for third reading by title only.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Lawrence Terry. Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Meeker.
Yes.
Tim Terry.
Yes.
Unanimous. An ordinance amending zoning ordinance number 18-09 addressing public hearing, notification requirements, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Council.
Third item, new business, is amend ordinance number 18-03, regulating the operation of mobile food vendors, first reading. This is ordinance and adjusting that we had talked about doing, I guess it's been a few months ago. There's a lot going on, so we decided to table it, bring it back to you when things calm down a little bit. I guess they're calm down. I'm not sure what calm is anymore, but this is for your consideration. I think, and forgive me, I didn't study it today like I should have, but I know H, under section 3, which is, I believe is what we added, any mobile food vendor that is traveling through neighborhoods and/or making house-to-house sales calls unless exempted by city ordinance 20-05 must obtain a solicitor's permit as mandated by the same. I think that's the only addition, am I right? And then we removed.
I mean,
Oh, the title.
The shaded part of it.
That's correct. Underneath the title, I guess, was added.
Right, and I think a point to make also is that we're exempting the ones that are stationary, but if they're traveling through town or house to house, they need a solicitor's permit.
And by the solicitor's permit, I believe, they're required to get the background check.
Yes.
Correct. Because that was kind of, I mean, that's something I brought up the last time we just talked about this. I just feel that's kind of, I mean, I feel better about folks that are traveling through town, whether they're selling ice cream or whatever, that they gain that background check. That's the way to make that happen. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
And you've got, now this is the first reading.
Yes, sir.
Make that motion, we approve the ordinance on first reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve on first reading.
You want me to read the whole ordinance or just by title?
By title only.
Mr. Langston?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Tim Terry?
Yes.
It's unanimous. An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 18-03, regulating the operation of mobile food vendors/mobile vendors, concession trailers, push carts in the city of Greenwood, Arkansas, requiring a permit and for other purposes.
Thank you. Number 4 on your agenda is the Economic Development Services Agreement Contract Approval. This is just what I said, and it's the, I think Bob's here tonight, of course, with the chamber director, and this is something that was, the idea of this and the thought of it, the process of it was approved during budget times. The money is there, right, Mr. Tom, and we just did not have an agreement written up as such, so this is the result of that, those conversations. And I believe, to my recollection, it's everything that you spoke on that evening. You may have almost read it, but I can't remember. It's been a while.
We hadn't started doing it.
we have not paid for any services, correct? That's correct. Is that your question? Right. He is currently doing things, so we've not made any payment.
So the dates need to be changed? This looks like a 6-month agreement now versus a
Right.
3-month agreement.
I was gonna, and Bob and I didn't get to talk about it. I don't know what your thought is on that.
Yeah, we can't do retroactive as far as the city's contractual payments and that sort of thing. So I would say let's
Dated
take 12 months from today, but
or a year from today.
So the 6-month agreement for half of what it was proposed.
You could do that, or as he said.
Two payments of $6,000 instead of 4 payments of $6,000.
I'd say
These
whatever.
are just my thoughts.
Yep. What do you have any?
Then we review it at budget time and see what we've been getting, what we're getting for what we're paying. So this is a lot like the A&P Commission. We want to see some figures and some data. I want you to prove that I'm better off spending the money that way than building a parking lot that would help her, or putting in a sewer line that would help builders, developers. Because it looks to me like we pay money to go ask them, and when we ask them, we're like, yeah, we agree, we need a sewer line. I'd rather just take that money and build a sewer, or take that money and build a parking lot. So it would be upon you to, at budget here in December, to come back and say, this is what you got for your $12,000.
Approve the worth like we asked of other.
And then just like A&P, you prove yourself, we'll put more money into you.
that's fine with us. I mean, that's fair and acceptable. But it's on us to show y'all that we are, in fact, the partner you asked us to be.
And I was just wondering, I mean, yeah, we discussed this, during the budget season and stuff. I said, what's, what was the reason why it's been so long getting the agreement for this?
I think you want to answer that?
Well, combination of things, I see. The mayor and I actually sat down right after the budget meeting in February and worked out the details and ran through Troy Gaffton. Your March meeting, we were gonna talk about it. I got terribly ill, and I was out for about a week or so, and then the world fell apart in April and May. We just did not bring it, so that's why we didn't have it earlier. It was just, we weren't sure what was gonna happen, meeting-wise, money-wise, everything else. And so Doug and I, we actually met to it last month, and we didn't put it together. So
I think this is probably a prudent thing to do when we're doing well in the middle of a pandemic, just try to do better. But I think the onus is on yourself to, with data, to prove that we are getting something for our money.
And I'll throw one example out if I can and go back on this. One of the first things we said was we're going to take on that census count. And that had to start in January, and we're at 71.1% as of this morning. The state average is 49%. West Arkansas average is 55%. So Greenwood is way ahead, and we've been pushing that for 4 months. And that was the most important thing we could do, because every one of those people that counts means $10,000 to the city college.
And that is still 10% higher than Allen, correct?
Yes.
I have a mayor that we'd like to go back and forth with.
Quote you on that.
Yeah. And that's a quote.
Well, I guess part of me thinks that, yes, COVID virus has created lots of issues and stuff, but a lot of things that we put in the budget have already been going forward. Boys and Girls Club, senior citizens, SRCA, and so I would like to say, well, at least if we get like 3 payments, in there for the year, instead of 2, we were planning on doing the whole 4 at the beginning of the year when we put it in the budget.
Right.
And so to me, it's still budgeted, right, Tom?
It's budgeted.
And so I'd like, if we are going to adjust this and make it, I'd still like to see, at least get 3 payments maintenance in there, because we're just basically at the end of the second period. I don't know how we're going to do it at the end of, March, June, like
Calendar quarter.
September.
Calendar quarter.
Calendar quarters.
Yes, sir.
But this will sound funny coming from the one that's going to get paid, or from the agency that's going to get paid, but I think you should start something in payment. I don't think you should go back. Just from a, what's correct in business. If y'all agree to this, then we start third quarter, fourth quarter. And I appreciate what you're saying, but I think what's technically correct, we should do these last 2 quarters.
I think your two options would be a 6-month contract and half the fee through December 31st, getting to next budget to quantify the impact. Or do an annual from July 1 to June 30th and keep the numbers that are there for a year. And then we deal with the budget at the time for another year or a 6-month impact next year. You have one of the two options.
I definitely agree with Rod. I'd like to keep it on a, January, December basis.
Following suit with the other contracts.
That'll be an annual contract starting this January 1 of 2021.
Right.
It always helps when you can look at everything in the whole and not have something that hits you, June.
Right, exactly.
If we were to get in a time when we needed to cut.
So, Rob, do you think that we just amended to say the first day of January 2020, and for the term of 6 months? Is that how?
July 1.
July 1 to
Yeah.
December 31st.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the contract July 1 to December 31st on 6 month, as a 6-month contract for $12,000.
And so item 3 on the second page would be altered. Right.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Lance Terry.
Yeah.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you, and thank you, Bob. I wasn't going to give a long sermon before, but I'll give a short one now. We've been working very well together, very close together, and again, the census has been a huge part of that, and anything else, the pandemic, just anything that's we just stay in contact with each other. It's a good relationship. And yes, and SCU, we had one too, but I'm just.
I am very happy
I know
to see
you are.
that you guys are putting
I
money
know.
to help
You-
the
yeah.
chamber.
So
That is
thank you.
wonderful.
So you will be happy to know things are carrying on in a good manner. So thank you, Bob, appreciate you. And thank you, council. Number 5, planning, Mr. Bell, you're back up.
Council, this was a proposal or approached the planning commission about changes of zoning from R1 to R5 on property located at 612 East Knoxville. The planning department approved that to be sent to the council for your approval, but circumstances have come up between the planning meeting and tonight's meeting. In essence, when the gentleman was here requesting the rezone, the people around there, they didn't have a problem with the rezone, but they asked him to clean up his lot. The lot's about 4 foot deep in grass and other trash. And when he left the next Monday morning, I called him and I said, I need the lot cleaned up by Friday. And Friday came and went, and I called again without any answer. So in lieu of that, I would like to table this. And if I can't impress on him that we don't like tall grass in our properties around here, then I think we need to hold this until we see some improvement. Then I'll bring it back to you.
We need a motion to table. Make a motion to
Good.
table.
Motion to second table.
Who's second?
Lance?
Mr. Lawrence Terry.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
And Jerry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council.
They'll be
Thank you.
tabled until further notice, yes?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Number 6 on the agenda was the added to the agenda. This is for your consideration. As you may and probably know, the governor has gotten together with municipal league, if you will, and requested a municipal league to prepare for him an ordinance, a model ordinance, and you have a copy of that ordinance on your table there in your packet. You also have a letter from John Wilkerson, who is in charge, head of legal at the municipal league, kind of explaining how that happened and how he got to the governor's office. And then you also have a couple of sheets there from the Arkansas Department of Health regarding guidance on the use of face coverings by the public. So this is for your consideration, and I don't know how else to put it. I don't what your personal feelings are or anything, but this is it's there, in my opinion, if for what it's worth. It's a tool. If Greenwood decided they needed it, I'm not suggesting we need it. I know there's wearing a mask, to say the least, is controversial and tends to be political, and that's unfortunate because I don't think it should be, and I don't think it is political, but unfortunately sometimes things tend to get in that direction. So I did have Dr. Lee Johnson call this morning during our, every month, the day we have a council meeting, we have a 10 o'clock department head meeting, and I asked that Dr. Johnson call and give us his opinion on that, and he would be, I'm sure, as he said today, glad to come and do that at any time the council wanted him to do that. And I take Dr. Johnson's advice very seriously. One, we all know him. He's a hometown boy. He's in the medical field, as you know, state representative, and he is what I would consider knee deep or neck deep in all of this COVID information. So I won't try to relay what he said. He's almost as bad as I am. He talked for about 45 minutes-ish, and the only difference is he has really good information. He knows what he's talking about, where I can just talk. But it's very informative, and again, I would encourage you, if you want to hear from him, that he would come and visit with us and talk to you personally, or talk to the council if you'd like. I didn't, obviously this is here for your consideration, as I've said, for you to do what you want to with. I think I heard today that Rogers, I may be wrong, but I think Rogers passed this ordinance, put it in place. They are Rogers, they are in Northwest Arkansas, so I don't know, but here it is for you to consider and discuss and see what you think.
As somebody that may be called to kind of enforce things, how do you feel about it?
Well, I turned that immediately to Chief and said, "Are you ready to enforce it?" And if I may, he said, "Not really, but rather not." And he can speak for himself. If you've read it, if you've had time to read it, hope you have. It's not a long ordinance, and it's really, in my opinion, it's more of education and trying to encourage people to wear masks, not to necessarily enforce it. Although there is a section there that plainly says,
Law enforcement may actually act in a
Yep.
supportive capacity
Yeah,
of
that's
local businesses by
Yep.
educating individuals who decline to comply with facial coverings, requirement of any local business that the individual must abide by that requirement or leave the premises.
so interpret that, and that's interesting. My personal opinion, I don't know if that's what you asked me necessarily, but somebody that would be enforcing it as an ordinance and being in the mayor, my personal opinion, if I can intertwine that a little bit, is I think the masks are a good idea. I mean, I have, and a lot of that does come from Dr. Johnson. A lot of it comes from one of my own sons that's a dentist, and I asked him just yesterday, but he lives in Seattle, and I said, this is interesting, I've not even asked you what you think about wearing a mask, and he does that for a living, he wears a mask, and he said just that. He said, well, we wear them for this reason, and it's nothing earth-shattering or new, it's to protect themselves from germs, in which this is. So I try my best to wear a mask. I'm encouraging our employees as of this morning, or after our discussion with Dr. Johnson, I told the department heads we went to Jaegers this afternoon and bought 4 boxes of masks, and we're going to make those available to all our employees. I'm asking all employees, as they are in the public, if they have to go to Jaegers, or if they have to go to the parts store, or if they have to go and be near public, I ask them to wear a mask. I do not ask them to wear it while they're fixing a sewer line or a water leak or something. I think there's a lot of common sense to be had.
I want to wear one.
Well, that's
Sewer
true.
line.
Yeah, well, that's true, sewer line in particular. Good point. But I think it's a smart thing to do to wear it. I think there's a good reason for it. But that's just my personal opinion. And if the council chose to pass this, whether tonight or a month or 6 months from now, I will promise you that we will do what is expected of us as in the mayor's office and police department to enforce it. Again, the verbiage in this is very, it's more about condoning it and educating people. Although, if a business is, the way I read this, and I may be wrong, Mr. Hammond could tell me real quick, if a business has decided that they are going to require it, we could possibly need to show up and remove someone that is refusing to wear a mask in that particular business.
That's the way I interpret it, yes.
Okay.
Then
Well, what if,
then what we do?
I don't know that, and that's a good question. Do you have a ticket? Do we provide a ticket or?
I heard that the governor said that you won't fine.
Yeah, he did.
No tickets
So
will
there's
fine.
no criminality.
Right.
Fines.
It's just about removing them from the business.
well, what does
I think-
the police department do right now if there's just an unruly patron in a business and the business owner says, hey, I've got somebody that's
Disorderly. They're not abiding by rules set by the
So I was
business.
thinking, so why don't just,
It would just be a trespass.
Well, it-
They're
it's
saying
a
you're
law.
not welcome on property without a mask, and they don't leave.
I mean, so,
They decided for trespass.
I'm trying to.
But
decide
there's-
this.
But,
You don't want my opinion.
no, I know.
I will tell you right now, you don't want me.
Well, and I
mean,
promise
that's
today,
my personal opinion
No, I
as far
understand.
as.
I understand, and I don't know, and I probably shouldn't give you my specific personal opinion about masks, but, and I don't know that it needs to get to that, and I'm not saying I don't, I think I know your opinion, and that's fine, everybody has one. But believe me, I brought up something similar to this. Yes, ma'am, get you just a second. I brought this, what did I say? Oh, you snorted?
I didn't mean
Well,
to.
then put a mask on. So, it is, I brought this, not this ordinance, because this had not been produced yet by the governor, but I did bring this subject up to our Economic Development Committee. I called those folks in to say, what do you think about the city? Let me back up a little bit. Fayetteville passed an ordinance, to my knowledge, the governor was not too pleased with. I think that's a safe thing to say. He was not too pleased. They just went out and did it. A couple of days later, if not a week later, Bentonville, I believe, did a softer version of it, which was similar to this, but really not as, this doesn't have a lot of teeth, I think, in my opinion. It's just a statement to say, this is a good idea to do.
It's really more like a resolution.
It really is.
rather
To
than-
me, it reflects more of a resolution.
why
So,
don't we just make it a resolution?
well, we can, and that is, I believe, Bob, you can correct, somebody needs to correct me probably, but I believe Bentonville, when they came back with what I call the softer version, they had a plan to where they were gonna have businesses sign up to say, hey, we are supported, we do want you to wear a mask, and we are doing these things for then the city to promote them and say, hey, they're doing a good job. Now, she's already shaking her head because she was the other day too, and I understand. But the bad part about making a good list of people that are doing the right thing, you automatically create a bad list, and we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to, as a city, I certainly didn't want to be a part of saying, here's the people that are doing the right thing, because I'm not judge and jury on that, you know. Everybody's got an opinion, and well, I guess my point of saying all this was out of 10 people or 12 that were here, I don't know how you can get 12 different variations of a topic that we did. So, and that's good, that's okay, there's nothing wrong with it.
Something interesting is they reference in the cover letter that it's a resolution.
Oh, really?
But it's an ordinance.
I did not know
It
this.
says in developing the sample resolution mentioned above.
Is that in John's wording or?
Yeah, it's in John.
Wow.
So I don't know, they just
My
kind of
question
made a
is,
mistake.
are the city agree with, are we a hot spot right here?
Not to my knowledge.
So that's my whole point.
And as I told Dr. Lee this morning, I said, now, if I understood that tomorrow or next week that we did have, and this is kind of, you can argue, somebody can argue with this, and I'll argue with myself, that if we were, or if we had 10 new cases tomorrow, I'd want us to do something. I would want us to put something in place. Now, the idea of this is supposed to be in place to prevent you from becoming a hotspot. I mean, you don't want to wait until you're in trouble before you start trying to find a way to fix it. So, but no, as far as cases go, I mean, obviously we are not.
You gotta think about the places that we've been talking about, Fayetteville, I mean, how that all started from. So, you got all Northwest Arkansas where they're running over each other up there. So, I mean, I'm gonna try not to get into it, but at what point do we like, golly, are they gonna start telling us when we can talk and we can't talk? You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of that fine line of, we just celebrated 4th of July 2 days ago. I'm pretty sure what that's for. And to me, we're getting to the point where we're not too far from a whole bunch of socialism. And so I'm just going to leave it at that.
I thought we were under already a phase 2 or whatever that the state, the governor runs out these phases he's got with all this that requires you to already have to wear a mask in. And every place I've been to eat already wants you to wear a mask in, and some won't let you in unless you have a mask.
That's correct. There are plenty. We've been out to eat and I haven't gone to a restaurant yet, whether in Greenwood or Fort Smith, that does not require you to wear one in, and then of course you get to take it off once you're served and put it back on the
What's
leaf.
this going to do here? Make us wear it while we're eating?
No. I think, to me, I think the difference, and it's a good point that it's an ordinance and not a resolution. Again, I don't know. It's very, I didn't write it.
I don't think there's already state laws. I'm assuming the little fight they had down at Little Rock at the Salt Grass Steakhouse, when all this thing went down last week, probably prompted them to.
I'm assuming there's pressures coming from several different directions for the state to say something, and for the governor to say, and there are people, I can't believe you're putting it in the city. Why the decision made here? Why are you letting the cities decide this at all? That's not my call, obviously.
I think you used the word while ago called political.
So Mayor, why?
I'll say it, I mean, that's bottom line, it's all the amounts to.
So they first started talking about the lead sample.
No leaving in the middle of the pandemic discussion.
And then goes to an ordinance. So an ordinance we're gonna have to pass, we'll have to waive we'd have to waive the second, third reading to make it effective. And then what's the difference in passing it as a resolution versus passing it as a law?
I don't understand why they made it, the ordinance is something permanent in nature.
And then we have to
And this
advertise.
is really something that I think is not permanent in nature. There should have been a resolution. To me, it appears that somebody just put it together really quickly.
And this is what's provided by the municipality, right?
Right.
This is the sample, we just insert Greenwood.
Right.
So I'm not interested in voting it quickly.
I understand.
That's just.
I will tell you that I didn't even feel, and this is not, Municipal League does a wonderful job, and the Municipal League put this together. Mr. Wilkerson was the one that, if you saw the press release, he was there. Mike and I were discussing a little bit earlier, I expected to see Mark Hayes, who is the director, as you know, now at municipally, but it wasn't, but he's the legal top dog, so I guess that was appropriate. But and I will tell you this, that the mayors, right before this came, well, I say the mayors, I have this clique, I suppose, that we talk more often than some of them do, and Alma being that, Van Buren, Fort Smith, and Mulberry. I've not been able to talk to any of them since this has been sent out. We've had discussions prior to it, so I'm curious to see what their thoughts are and what direction they may or may not be going.
I've got some inside information that Fort Smith is leaning towards
Passing it.
I don't, none of the small cities I represent, I don't foresee.
Yeah, Mansfield, I think today made it, I think maybe in your, maybe you ran an article or somebody did about Walden or Mansfield that they.
Fort Smith passed it today.
Sorry.
Fort Smith. Over there.
You're fine.
Their board of directors meeting is tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Yeah, they haven't voted on it yet. I've heard that there's some support there to do it, but I don't know whether they will.
It's split on the board of directors,
Yeah,
to be honest.
I think the city administrators kind of pushing it too.
I will say this, on behalf of Dr. Lee, who was speaking to us today. It's not really about this ordinance, if you will, but he was suggesting to me that I am very much considering, we've already had Danielle make a few calls today to see what, to be a city that offers and has masks available for folks. Dr. Lee was impressing upon me that to him, that was as more important as anything to say, if you know, we're not making you wear one or saying you have to, but if you want one, we have them. And we may go as far as having a city logo or something, I don't know. We're just looking into that sort of thing. And on that note, we went down and bought four boxes today to have here at City Hall. That's a fluffy version of this, I suppose. But I agree. The ordinance, it being an ordinance and not a resolution is, and I didn't catch what you just read. That's interesting that they actually referred to
Says
it.
the resolution is to strongly encourage.
That's what I think for a resolution. I mean, I want businesses to get going and be up and running.
Right.
They don't require that for you to go in there. If they want you to wear a mask, and so be it. You shouldn't be put in that position. And if you choose you don't either, that's your prerogative. If they're gonna require you a mask and you don't want to wear one, don't go there. And if you're worried about being outside, stay home.
But just like you said, it's disorderly conduct. So if Joanna had a person in her
Oh,
store
I'm sorry, I forgot.
that didn't want to and showed out, basically,
It's already
then
protected.
you would be,
Yeah, it's
right.
already
It's
It's
already-
already protected.
So
Why we double hammering it? And then like Mike said, I mean, that thing was part of the road for 15 minutes, and I'm not gonna make that decision tonight for everybody to agree with that Chief Dawson's gonna encounter because they're gonna pretty much tell you you'll jump up a road, but I ain't wearing one, because you're gonna run across a bunch of those.
I agree.
No shoes,
Myself
no
included.
shoes, no mask, no service.
Right. Ms. Moran, I'm sorry, I forgot to recognize you while we go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to my 2 cents as a local business owner. When I opened my store back up May 5th, I put up a sign that said I recommended but did not require masks. And I did that until we had a positive case in town. And at that point, I changed my sign and I now require masks. I thought I was going to get a lot of pushback. I probably, during this, since then, have only had, I think maybe 2 people decide not to come in. Nobody was hateful about it. They just said, no, I prefer not. And I've been offered, I had some of those farmer's bank masks. And I said, and usually as soon as people walk in, if they don't have one, I just, hi, how are you doing? Oh, by the way, I'm requiring a mask right now. Do you have one already? And if they don't, until I ran out of those, I gave them one of those. I also have multiple vendors that make them, so I've got a ton of cloth ones in the store for $5. Most people have been really pretty happy to either purchase or take one that I was offering. But again, as a business owner, and people have thought that it was the city that required me to do that. And I always make sure to tell them, no, this was just what I do so that I can sleep at night. Because nobody asked my opinion, but I'm standing up and I'm talking, so you can get it. The way I see it is that at the very worst, if I'm wrong and these masks are not helpful, I've inconvenienced myself in wearing the mask and my face is all hot and sweaty all day, because I wear it all day, from the time I open to the time I close. But the very last thing in the whole wide world I want is for there to be an outbreak in Greenwood and they trace it back to my store. You know, we're not a hot spot. I think because people are trying to do the right thing. We'll never know if the masks were right or wrong if we never become a hot spot. We won't know if it's because we wore the masks, which I think it is, or we just got lucky. But as a business owner, I'm requiring it right now until I don't feel like it's necessary. And I've not gotten a ton of pushback from customers.
Thank you. Again, I was not expecting, obviously council do what they feel like they need to do. I was not necessarily expecting to vote tonight. I wanted you to have this information, do with what you want to, if you wanted to. I mean, if you want to vote, that's obviously up to you. I am interested in the ordinance / resolution. I can make a phone call tomorrow and ask, did you make a mistake? Because that's supposed to.
Well, it does say ordinance in it that's gone down.
Right, right. Or, you know, I would assume municipal league's only going to say, you know, there it is. If you want to use it, you use it. If you don't have to.
Well, I think, can you also just put forth a proclamation saying, you know,
that we support the wearing of masks?
The mayor of Greenwood, I support, you know, this.
The main reason for this ordinance that is because it is permanent in nature, an ordinance is, and it allows the police to support the businesses. I think that's really the bottom line, is that it allows municipal police force to support businesses that require them to get.
Now, services, if they want to, they show you, no shoes, no shirt, I mean, what's the difference? If they change the bill out front, I mean, so.
Chief?
I ate lunch with an ABC officer Friday, and they're actually the ones that are supposed to go to restaurants and ensure that their workers are wearing masks. As soon as we get done eating, he picked up his clipboard and went back inside, so.
This was who?
ABC officers.
Oh. So you think they're the ones that will be tasked?
Well, they are right now,
they're already
making sure
doing
the
this.
restaurants are following the guidelines.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying, there's already guidelines in place by the state to.
Yeah.
And to me, there's already, like, the chief says there's things that they, you know, a shop owner can do if somebody is just really obnoxious and unruly.
I'd like to add one more thing.
Yep.
Police aren't the favorite people right now, so to get more people mad at them, say, hey,
Yeah, over a mask.
You don't need a bigger, yeah, yes, sir.
You know, Doug, you know the conclusion we reached when the committee met last week? We asked two questions. If we take this position, will we accomplish anything?
Right.
And we kind of thought, probably not. You know, like we said, those are the requirements and required. And then the second question was, if we don't take this position, are we going to hurt anything? And again, we said, don't see what we're going to hurt by doing nothing. Not where we elected when that comes up. We really couldn't see a great benefit in doing something, nor could we see a great harm in not doing it.
And I agree, and I agree with that. You're exactly right. The only thing, and Ms. Brandt's sitting right behind you, so I can't help but looking at you and see her too. And to your point, and I'll just say this as whatever you want, anybody wants to take it from personal mayor or whatever, is that sometimes what you don't do, you don't know what happens. I mean, and that was in the decision making of the Freedom Fest being canceled or not. You know, we could say, well, we would never know by inviting 10,000 people. I don't want to rehash all that, but you just don't know. So it's tough. But you're right, that was exactly the end of that meeting. Somebody had their hand up. Or 10.
I did. I still believe, and I'm going to say it with my mask off, I still believe in being positive and encouraging and promoting Greenwood and promote the use of masks, not enforcing it by law. Please do not do that. Do not promote just businesses that use it because it's wrong, just straight up wrong, because we have to promote the entirety. But being the leader, the forefront, being an individual, not latching on to other counties, other cities, anything. We are a strong unit, and we are our own. We are light in all of this, and let's continue to be that. And the messages that you put out, people look up to you, people love listening to you, and love our police department. And don't set a standard on one thing or the other. Just continue with the positivity and encouragement, but don't lay down the law of you've got to do this or that, please.
And if we do, I nominate Stewart. Everybody was starting.
Well, I think Ralph said it.
And I'm not nominating Tanya as my next campaign manager.
I think Ralph said, it's fine. I mean, we give the, the shop owners, their own, freedom to choose. And, just like Ralph said, you can say no shoes, no mask, no shirts, just add that in there, but it's each individual business owner's, decision to make. And like I said, if somebody does get unruly, we have things on the book to handle, unruly things.
And I'll show up with a mask on and stuff.
Well, and so, I don't want to cut anybody short, but, and I think, I told the department heads this morning as I was announcing that I was going to give this to you tonight. They're like, what is wrong with you? And nobody knows what's wrong with me, but it was my obligation, I firmly believe, to make sure that you were aware of this and what's handed down by the governor, handed down by municipal league, as a tool if you want to use it. So I'm hearing that we're not interested. Yes, sir.
No,
Sorry.
as a spouse of a hospital worker, a Mercy hospital worker, I think I'm obligated. I don't agree with the ordinance part.
Right.
I think it should be a resolution. And it's strongly encouraged by the Arkansas Municipal League in support of the governor's comments. So I make a motion that we adopt this as a resolution as written and presented by the Arkansas Municipal League. As is.
I would go along with the resolution, but I would really like to remove section 2, because I don't really want to feel like there's wording out there that says that the police department has to, come in and kind of be a bad guy or whatever, that even by resolution, we're going to say that the police is going to be enforcing, this.
So you could actually, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but you could actually just remove where it begins with law enforcement. Well, never mind, it's the whole section too, never mind, because it has a couple of different.
And you want it mail to all the businesses like section 3 says?
I think that's fine myself, to again, show that the city, is supporting, the state.
It's not an issue, I'm sorry, of us removing. This is just an example. We can change something.
We're just adopting a contract with the Chamber of Commerce. That seems like a pretty good bullet point for them to work directly.
There you go.
Businesses.
Well, they've earned your money. Wow.
Well, like in section 4, it says this ordinance shall go into effect immediately upon passage. That's not really a resolution wording, so we can't really do it as written because it's written as an ordinance. So should we allow us to go through and,
Resolution using the verbiage
yeah,
without the title,
without enforcement?
without the.
Or we can just go ahead and move on with the state standards that are already in place. I agree. Not insult the intelligence of the 5 people agree with it, or already doing their due diligence.
I say we move on to department head and council presidents.
Well, there is a motion on the floor, right?
Let's have a moment over here. He's still part of the seams.
We've over-regulated micromanaged this city a whole lot.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion
We
on
ain't even a
the,
second yet.
I have a motion on the floor I have a motion on the floor to turn this into a resolution, basically. Do I hear a second?
I was saying with the verbiage of
Removing section 4.
That's not the original motion, so.
Yeah, you'd have to amend your.
I'll withdraw my motion and resubmit it with the amendment of removing that section.
Okay, so a motion and a second. We'll read that for us.
Rob Powell made a motion to adopt this document as a resolution and remove section 2 from it. seconded by AC Brown. Did you second?
Yes.
Lance Terry?
No.
Mr. Powell?
Twice.
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
No.
And Ms. Tim Terry?
No?
Motion fails. We will move on. Thank you, council. Department reports and questions from council. Those that are here, if you can't tell, Mr. Bell, Mr. Dennis, Mr. Street, Chief, both chiefs,
I have a water
Tammy.
question.
Sorry, did you? Go ahead, Bob.
Just to report to you guys, we had a great 5K on Saturday. We had almost as many participants as we had last year. They enjoyed it. And for a positive, our guys at the police department and the fire department turned out full bore and made it happen. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Any questions for department heads?
I just wanted, go ahead, Ron. I just wanted to thank Dennis. We had a bridge that was missing one or two roads. We had a couple of folks point that out to us, and I mean, Dennis got to it like right after the meeting almost. They were really excited.
This done?
They were super excited that it was fixed, so I just wanted to throw it to us.
Very good. Thank you.
I would just like to add, I think, Tom, we kind of touched on it, but again, just kind of where we stand as far as in the water and sewer departments, as far as our bond issue. On that.
Well, for the year so far, we're at 28% right now, but already, I showed you the sales is up. So for the rest of the year, we're probably going to be under the 100%, 110 for sure. But we're working with the water department to determine when they're going to implement, if they're going to implement a rate increase. There is a solution that we could have working with the bond company, because we're not in jeopardy of any kind of default. We only have a year and a half left on the bond. We offered to pay it off, but the bond restricts us, so we can't pay it off. So one of the suggestions is to take some of their money in city sales and use tax and reserve it to pay off the bond as a reserve, a hard dollar restricted reserve, and that we would maintain that to cover the bond or to remove the bond issue. And if that's a solution the bond company would be working with us with, we would keep it there, pay it off with the city sales and use tax over the next year and a half, and then reconvert that back to operating city sales and use tax funds restricted for that purpose, just to put it aside so that it's there. I don't see it being an issue right now, because we can show our numbers and we can show the bond company that they're worried about a potential Stuttgart, where they had to go into their reserves in order to make their bond payment. We're not anywhere near. You saw the city sales and use tax numbers. You saw the sale of water going up. You saw their operating funds are strong. So the problem we have is that on the sewer side, unfortunately. Sewer becomes profitable to the tune of $200,000 a year as soon as the bond's paid off, because that bond is being paid with monies right out of sewers operating. So.
My question is, that looks like we've got the permit to drill the highway, is that correct? It said it happened on the 22nd of June. Does anybody know about water and sewer?
Oh, just a little under 71.
Right, so the work is going to start this month.
I attended that meeting. I'm trying to remember what the report was.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay.
And unfortunately, nobody's here from them.
And then there's a water system maintenance facility expansion. Are we talking about the treatment plant? No, we're talking about right here.
Yes, they're going to expand over there.
Okay. And it's expected to only go for 2 to 4 weeks, so that must be pretty small.
It is.
Yeah, it's not much.
Do we know what's going on on 71? People that live in the road, little dirt work out there by the boys club.
There's gonna be a heavy equipment rental company.
Oh, what it is, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the
Not,
water.
yeah, not the church one, right beside the boys club.
Yeah, it's
Heavy, yeah.
heavy equipment rental. We haven't seen any plans for the building yet, they're just doing the dirt work. They're supposed to be coming in with a drainage study and other documents to get a permit. They started before they got the permit because they were under the impression that it was outside the city limits. And the mayor stopped them and we got that handled, and so we're back on track with them.
And they complied very quickly. Once they were informed that, stop, they did, so.
Yeah, I wasn't disclosed to them correctly.
You know, he was not thrilled. He had some money tied up there and was trying to get it. I actually allowed, after some consideration, allowed for them to end that day because they had some loaner equipment there and things going on. I said, and then we talked about fines after that, and they've not been back since. I think they brought in some implements and dropped them off and then left, but they've not been back. And right, they've not even come back with her. I'm hoping for sure, and I explained to the gentleman that we want you here, we just have rules to follow, so he was very, very compliant.
And process.
And process. But as to as Sonny just said, they were literally informed that was in the county, so, of course, it's his job to find that out, but he found out just not.
Maybe in the county over the courthouse, we've seen that already.
That's possible, anything's possible.
We managed so many things to us in this town.
I tried to explain to the real estate agent that the state knew it was in the city, and the county knew it was in the city, and the city knew it was in the city, and I knew it was in the city. She was the only one that didn't know it was in the city.
Who's the real estate agent?
I can say.
You don't know?
Oh, yeah.
It used to be.
We know.
Well, is there someone sitting on the planning commission?
That'd
That would be correct. So he's building next door to Greenwood City Fire Department Substation 3. And the real estate agent who has a son sitting on the planning commission, and she's also been through all the annexation stuff with us. She told him that it wasn't.
That is the best of my knowledge, that's correct.
This was a
We were all-
property that was owned by
Yeah.
First Western, and we went through the whole lawsuit thing, and it was, they thought that the fire station, future fire station was in the city, but that was the part that was out, but it was just reversed.
But when it was all wrapped up in the lawsuit, never mind.
Okay, any other question? Yes, sir.
Follow up on last month, have you heard anything back about 71 Ken Spur property or the excavation going on by Davis Gym?
We, on the annexation?
Excavation.
Oh, excavation, we have not had a sit down with Mr. Burke yet. We have one, hopefully we have one scheduled for next week for him to come in. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. To our knowledge and to what I've looked into before I actually had to bring, I've talked to him on the phone, we've not brought him in, that sounds bad, we're not met here yet. He is abiding by ADEQ guidelines, but we have our own issues. One, that's specific behind Davis Gym. We've not seen anything since he needs to renew that permit specifically, for sure. And he's not coming to do that, and we've not seen any new plans on that project. You know, the original plan that we have is calls for terracing and things like that, and we're not seeing that, as everybody here knows. So we're gonna talk to him hopefully next week, get some things answered, lined out.
Which permit does need to be renewed?
Behind Davis Gym.
I mean, I saw a dump truck go out there trying to do a while ago.
Yeah, as far as city permit, now he bought that permit, it's, you know, we revised or repealed and did some things to that grading ordinance, I'm calling it, I'm not sure that's the name of it. And he bought that, he may have even purchased that permit before there was a deadline or something running out, am I right? So, but the new in place now, and I'm not considering that a grandfather in, and he needs a new permit. So technically, he was okay, I suppose, but with this, what we did, what y'all did the last time, he needs to have a new permit every 6 months. So now he did not have to have, what was it that he did, we found that he didn't have to have when he first?
Well, the ordinance that he got the permit under did not have a time restraint.
Yeah, but I was thinking it was even something else too, but maybe not.
And,
He's got to come in, we got to visit with him about it now.
we want to see some more detailed plans on what he's doing and what his, we need to know a finish date. This can't go on, forever.
Yeah, I've not put a stop in, he probably is, I didn't stop him yet, but we may.
ADEQ comes out and inspects from time to time, and he passes their inspection, and the one on 71 that you're talking about, that's in the county, and we don't have any say-so on that.
Anything else, anybody, department head or myself?
So just on that last statement you made over the old, you always hear this planning jurisdiction phrase, it's in our planning, blah, 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 that really isn't relevant at all.
It applies to subdivisions more so than anything else. Yeah, now, once he starts building, yes.
Okay.
Because he will have to build roads to our standards, he will have to have, certain things like that. But at this point, it's in the jurisdiction, but it doesn't fall under those rules.
We don't have French man rules.
No, unfortunately.
He won't be able to put gravel roads through there and things like that. It'll have to be done, within the street specifications, and curb and gutters and things like that.
Now, and I don't want to, I hate talking about somebody that's not here to defend himself, but the other issue that you brought up, Mr. Powell, on the other property, back in behind that, between there and Denver Street.
Jones's property?
Well, not that one, another, the other one.
Yeah, property.
No, I'm talking about the property that was sold, for a house or two right back in there. I questioned him on that too.
Oh, the private drive.
Private drive, that issue.
Oh, the Meeker property.
I didn't necessarily want to call it that, but yes. So that's still in question. He kind of defended himself a little bit, and I didn't know exactly how to defend ourselves on that. He has thoughts on.
Well, hey, you could split your property up,
Right.
sell it to people, as
Right.
you go to improve it, subdivide it, and become a subdivision. That's when you gotta go and build a real street and have a real
I
cul-de-sac.
think the defense there is that it no longer belongs to him, but it's whoever he sold it to, and that's their, but I'm not.
Then the problem would be with the Meeker suing him because he didn't have access to his property.
Hey, off the record, I warned you. Your brother's gonna listen.
I think it's the purpose, you just don't get to build a road.
Right.
If you can build a real road.
So the other property on Webster, and the corner of Webster and.
He's a prolific guy. There's
Yes.
a lot of properties.
Yeah, so my understanding of our own ordinance, and it's less than 2 acres, I mean, he can do what he wants to with less than 2 acres as far as grading or whatever. And that's a real, and I don't know, everybody's got their opinion again on things, matters such as this. I've been over there a few times, and he has explained the desire of the owner of that property. It's not his, as you know.
This is the Jones property.
Jones property, which is, well, used to be.
Used to be.
It's, yeah, used to be Charlie Jones, and now it belongs to the gentleman on the hill.
Yeah, Dean.
Thank you. So the plan there, and I haven't seen it, but the plan there is, to my understanding, is to smooth, to make the pond bigger. They're gonna add to the pond and then sod it and all that good stuff to make it quote unquote golf course like.
Well, he's been working on it, and it looks, for his property, it looks really good.
Yeah.
For what his other properties.
So I agree, and so reading the ordinance and saying, and reading what it says, and you're disturbing this, and, that's a tougher one to me, to force something on it. The other two, not so much. I mean, I think there's bigger issues there.
Are there any regulations, and you might be able to tell this, about making a pond dam bigger as far as houses below?
There's certainly issues about runoff and drainage and things like that.
I know, for instance, at the golf course, when we redid our water, the pond out there, when we started getting the city water, we made it about 3 times bigger than the original pond, and there were some houses down below, and there were some issues we were gonna have to get into about if the dam broke, yada, yada, I just know.
Yeah, that one ordinance has a lot of information in it, and it's,
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but I'll certainly check on it for you.
I just want him to go build some big Hoover Dam deal out there that.
making it, no, I think the idea is to, and again, until we can see a little bit more on paper or something, I think it's more about expanding the size, not necessarily the depth of it.
I mean, it's no tank dam, probably not gonna do much.
Right.
But if he goes in there and builds some big,
Yeah.
whatever, and then it breaks and all Green at West.
Yeah.
The county conservation or the soil and water conservation, they'll have to approve, it's a plan that's threatening houses, I mean, it's gotta have certain soft
Yeah.
I was looking at this guy.
slopes, I mean, it's gotta meet guidelines.
I don't, nobody's asked, but I'll throw the annexation thing out there a little bit. Continues to wait to hear back. The judge has received our plans, right?
Yes.
And we're waiting to hear back from him. We reached out to Von Tunlin, Jim Von Tunlin in Little Rock, and his reply was not what we necessarily wanted to hear, but he's curious and wants to talk, so we're gonna try to get him to come up again and talk about this.
Once we get something back from the judge, then we'll
Yeah,
schedule a meeting.
so you don't think we're just not, we're sitting on our hands, we're really not waiting on people to give us some answers back.
We're waiting with bated breath for the judge to answer our request. Is that right?
I think that's right.
We're still sitting good with the sidewalk,
Sir?
we're still sitting good with the sidewalk.
Tinsburg?
Tinsburg.
Yes, sir. I get, only a few people in the room know my frustration sometimes with that project because we don't seem to get, I am literally waiting on the easements for us to get in my hand, and I will go myself along with Dennis or whoever wants to go. And we're gonna go and start getting those easements signed, or attempt to get those easements signed. Mr. Jeremy Shores with,
We were supposed to have those last week.
what, sorry,
Hawkins
Hawkins and Weir was, he actually promised those to us the end of last week, and so I had Danielle call today and say, we need, and I said, just email him and say, mayor's impatient, need, in a very short email, and he called back, or emailed back, and he said, I'll have them there day after tomorrow, so we'll see. But yes, the grant, yes, everything's in line, we should not have any issues.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the point of getting the easement, turning those over to the state, so,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how close we are.
I mean, I'm anxious to get some concrete poured out there.
Be a great project during the pandemic.
Yep.
Everybody at home,
Yep.
kids may be at home this fall.
So,
He did show us, plans of each parcel along there and the concept of where the sidewalk will go, because, it's not gonna be a straight line, there's gonna be some curves, up and downs and things like that. It's not all gonna be in the state right away, it's gonna be going back and forth. It's gonna be a lot like in front of Casey's, how they did their deal there.
As Don Keys, as you mentioned earlier, used to say, it'll sidewalk quite a bit down through there.
It's not over there.
Cattywampus. And I was recently on the phone with RDOT, a representative from RDOT, and I did not bring up that project. He brought it up to me, so I was like, well, good, we're not, they're aware of it, it's in the working, so anxious to get that going.
Back to annexation you touched on, you have any idea what kind of cost will come on Tunley?
No.
As far as
His fees, you mean?
Just his fees?
No, I haven't.
I mean, I'm all for it, and I just kind of like to know.
Sure. We'll find out. I think, I don't know, I don't really know. I'd just be making some number up if I did. We'll find out.
I mean, he'll have a cost.
Oh, sure.
Like Andy said, I want him sitting on my side.
Yeah.
I don't want him sitting on the other side.
I think it's been a year or two since Sonny and I were in Little Rock to visit with him, and Of course, we went there to talk to him and we didn't get into detail and it wasn't, I don't think we were charged for that at all.
No.
I mean, obviously, if he comes here and starts getting,
Again, I-
on maps.
I don't know, you know, if he provides this service through municipal league or what, you know, of course, I would imagine if he comes up here, we'll pay for the travel or whatever, we'll find out.
Yeah, I'm hoping some of that does come under our league, membership fees. We'll find, we'll see.
And then again, if it's challenged, like Mike says, and he has to come up here, then you know.
I've consulted with him many times over the years, and he's never really.
No, that's why I talk to him, you know, email him or something, you know, a couple of times a week or something like that, in a lot of cases.
It'd be worth it if we get moving.
Agreed.
Because you're not the only one frustrated.
I know. Anything else from anybody? All I gotta do is get a parking lot built and get the sidewalks in and exit. Okay, council forum, so I guess it's kind of what we did. Council, anything else?
Make a motion.
Same.
I think you're ready to go home. It's not even 9, are you sure?
Yes.
Thank you for all this, thank you. Adjourned.
Good to see you.
I got a picture real quick of the. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Those, that.